The sales team has just returned to the private room at the country club after their meeting at Acme.
Well, that was foobar.
I'm going as a different costume for Comic-Con this year, and hopefully Angie won't recognize me.
I've seen worse, I think.
All right, stop. The purpose of the meeting was to make the ask and get an opportunity to present a proposal. That's the win. Everything else is just tuition to learn how to be better.
Expensive tuition. Self-respect isn't cheap.
Let's talk about what went well. I'm going to call on someone, and you can talk about everything that you saw go well with the members of the team who were not you. Jason, fresh eyes. What went well?
Well, I got the clothes that...
I said to not talk about yourself. I'll say that Jason closed well when it's my turn. Okay?
Iggy, I thought you did a good job explaining how we might set up the portal. Although I think if you would...
Just positives.
Right. Chase, you tried to keep everyone on track. Alex, you knew all of their providers.
And why they all suck.
Marcia, you kept Mark engaged, even when he was texting.
Iggy?
I don't know. I don't usually do this. I didn't like that they kept looking at their watches and cell phones. I thought it was distracting and kind of rude. And why did they have us in that little room? I could hardly run the PowerPoint on the tiny screen, and the meeting started late, which I really hated.
Iggy, please just tell us what you thought we did well as a team.
We were on time?
Each person, Iggy. What did each person do well?
Okay. Well, Jason seemed to be talking to Bill all of the time. Chase smiled a lot and tried to get us to the slides. Alex wasn't too mean. Marcia, you didn't grit your teeth as much as you sometimes do when you're angry. I think that I explained part of how our interface would work with their system.
Everybody did parts of everything well. We just didn't do as well as we could as a team. And what was with Sue Mako? She was all over the numbers. She didn't believe any of our examples. I mean, she practically called us liars. She even brought up a portal idea that we hadn't presented. We were flat-footed on everything she threw at us.
I'll sum it up. We didn't follow our plan. Everybody answered their own questions. We didn't control the tempo. Because of the questions being answered on the fly, Chase wasn't able to reframe the questions and keep the meeting under control.
Roger, scotch, light ice.
Roger, same for me.
We didn't lead Mark to a conclusion when we got to the key point. We just threw it out on the table. Having said all that, it was interesting enough that we got another meeting. Nice job, Jason, on the ask. Chase, what do we need to do?
We have to go back to this presentation and rebuild it so that it flows into a proposal.
How do you want to rebuild the presentation and the proposal in one meeting? I don't think we're going to get a third meeting unless it's to scope out the terms and conditions on the proposal. Cole was very clear about that. He wants to understand pricing and ROI in real numbers, not soft promises that happy elves make better toys.
We're going to build a logic box.
What do you mean?
It's something from the program I'm doing. The logic box is the idea that if A is true and B is true, then C must be true. So, A, if we can help Acme see that their labor force is shifting in a way that is bad for them, and that B, how they are managing that shift won't work for them, then C, they need to change. And finally, we are the change they need to make. We didn't show any of these points clearly.
I've got an idea. I'm going to call Mark. I'm going to tell him we're even now he has kicked my ass in debate. I'll let him have his moment. Then I'll ask him for the stories. Let's see what he says about his version of Jeannie and John, the 25-year-old with no strings and John with a complicated life. I want to hear their stories.
Love it. Iggy, can you get in touch with Angie and walk through your thoughts and hers on the integration of our two systems?
I don't know if she'll take my call, but I can try. I'll use a gaming analogy or something. I'll figure it out.
Oh, we know this now. Sue's our eel, and a strong one.
Yeah, she's a $5 million problem, and I have a $5,000 solution that I can buy. Dark web style. Bitcoin. No tracing the transaction.
Alex, that's not even remotely funny. We don't put hit contracts out on anyone. And no, before you say anything, I don't want to hear about your ex-husbands.
Jason, I know you're friends with Bill now, but you need to reach out to Cole and talk about money. How much does he calculate the costs are to recruit and train an employee? And what does it cost when they lose one? Numbers guys always keep their cards close. Let's see what he says when he's on the phone with just you.
What about me?
Well, you and I are going to rebuild the whole presentation from the beginning and add the proposal.
Oh, that's all. I thought you'd left me out on purpose. Chase, hold on a sec. I had Iggy do a little profile on Dickman. It appears that he has never closed a big deal. More interesting, there was a call from his guest office made to an outside line 2 days before our presentation. To Acme Lasers. Now, whatever could they have been talking about? Seems like Shane's dog Hank doesn't have a leash and is wandering around some curious neighborhoods.
Back in Marcia's office, Alex, Chase, and Marcia are working on the new Acme Lasers presentation.
We are making this presentation in 48 hours. I wonder if we really understand what their problem is. If it is tenure because of command benefit management difficulty for the employee, that seems like a bit of a stretch. We said that employees have to like their boss, like their work environment, which includes what we do, like the work they do, and then like their pay. That's 4 in order. We're only impacting a part of the second one. Maybe they don't like the tools that they are using, or their chairs, breaks, parking. I mean, the list goes on and on. We don't have a straight line of sight from what their problem is to what we do.
Take us out of the question. If we were consultants that Mark hired, what would we tell him to do? We've worked with hundreds of companies. They have the same 4 reasons why people leave. We should be able to tell him what to do without selling ourselves. The guy on the program says, if you want the bigger sale, you have to solve the bigger problem. Mark's problem is turnover for all 4 of the top reasons, not just a part of the second one.
Let me take a shot at this. First, for the bosses, I'd test them. Survey their employees. Train them. And score them based upon output and tenure.
What about the surveys?
That should be a small part of it, but the real issue is, do the employees stay and are they able to deliver their work? Second, work conditions. Acme has pretty much the same kind of employees we know from working with Fortuna Structures. We did the employee concierge there, although we didn't call it that. That worked. They liked it. But there were some other things. Third, the work that they do. I don't know how to help with that. I would probably be a little tighter on the interview and selection process. Fourth is the money. I know that they don't want a wage war for talent, but they do have to be industry competitive. That whole 3% annual raise crap has to go out the window if you are in a wage war. Feed the eagles and starve the turkeys. Keep the best, clip the rest. If Acme spends $15,000 to bring up a new employee and then loses them in a year, it means if the employee stays 2 years, it's worth $30,000.
Small money for our fees now. Big $30,000 bonus for keeping them. Mark will love the math of that. He's probably done it himself 100 times. He just thinks the 11-month average is a ceiling he can't break through. He's right if he does it his way.
We know the best practices for all 4. We solve these problems for different companies in different ways. I like the employee concierge name better. Don't tell Iggy yet.
Of all the changes that have been made, which produced the best results?
There's some squishy data in there. This won't be NASA-level analysis, but I have enough. Iggy and I will grind it out and then compare against national trends.
Okay. Well, work conditions. We can handle our side of that based on what we discussed at the last meeting. We have to pull together the physical environment and availability of necessary tools. I don't know how we do that.
I know a guy. He presented on this exact subject last spring at the industry conference. I can reach out to him and get his data. It'll cost a little, but if we start to sell this employee concierge product to other bigger prospects, it'll pay for itself.
I don't know if there's anything we can do on the actual work. We do handle the testing, filtering, and then onboarding of new employees. Probably we can grind some data on that. Probability models for each of those that show longevity related to the screening process.
That leaves the money. How employees get paid, bonused, incentivized. It's the last of the 4 most important, but it's important. Besides liking the place, the work, and the boss, Mark has to bump wages above market a little bit. He makes it all, and more, on the back end when the employees stay. That's the problem. Solved.
How do we pull it all together?
Iggy?
We've got him doing all of the number crunching. Is he going to have enough time to put together some sort of website or portal for the employee concierge program?
No, but he doesn't have to. He already has one. I went by his desk the other day, and he had a demo portal up for our employees to do 90% of what we are talking about. Candidate screening, scores for 360 reviews, payroll and benefit management, exceptions, work tickets, almost all of it.
Why?
He's building it for us to use in-house for our employees.
Why hasn't he told anyone or put it up for this program?
Because it's Iggy. It's not quite perfect yet, so we won't talk about it or show it to anyone until it is. He then swore me to secrecy. IT people can be challenging.
He has to share it now. It's the story we're telling. All the pieces fit together, and the portal to the employee concierge is what makes it work.
I want the presentation to be a bad experience versus good experience story. We tell the story of the 1-year life of the 35-year-old, the company he left, and then Acme as the company he came to. Stories have to have tension, conflict, urgency, and resolution.
I like that. Let me guess. Got it from the big sale program?
Most of it. Besides, I've been telling stories for years. That's what people understand. The story. The why and the what wrapped up together. Then we show the how we make it happen.
We have 2 days to pull it all together before we deliver. Chase is on point. It's time to present the answer that wins.
Okay, now episode 8, Champagne or Gravel. I love this because how many times do we go into presentations and we're super excited and then we come out and we're like, that didn't work anywhere close to the way we wanted. And so coming out of this presentation, I think the way that the team debriefs and it comes out with what are they going to do and how is this going to work. And there is a very important part of this scene where Chase starts to solve.
I think that particular scene, I think, is basically reflective of so many circumstances that I've gone through or clients have gone through coming back from a meeting. And then you debrief it and you deconstruct it. And sometimes the people in the room are very gentle on the politics and how they say things to each other. And sometimes they just kick each other butt because their answer is, I'm not happy with what happened. And so you have to get past that. And fortunately, Chase and the group get past that. And by doing that, that team now can take another shot. Because if they don't get past that, then they're not either going to have the confidence to do it or they will look at it in poor context.
Well, and the other thing that we see play out is how they do the multiple touch that is so required in large account sales where, you know, you have Bill playing golf with Jason and Marcia playing golf with his wife. You have those conversations pulling back into, if we're going to win this, how are we going to win this? And how do we go back to the people we know and have the conversations we need to have to get us back in the door?
So when I wrote this, what I wanted to show was something that we do an awful lot with clients and most people don't do, which is the peer-to-peer back channel selling. The idea that you get the peer-to-peer up front where you've got people from Acme Lasers and Job Pillars working with each other on the technical pieces along the way, pre-meeting setup, post-meeting debrief, trying to reconnect. That happens if it's well constructed to do it. And in this case, we showed those particular touch points. It doesn't work everywhere, but where you can make it happen makes a difference.
Absolutely. And then there's this one piece where we talk about the logic box that's going to make the difference in how they present, where if A is true and B is true, then C must also be true. And Chase kind of puts that together. And I love the way that that plays out as they go forward.
Next episode, we're going to talk about how do we regain that meeting even though we lost it, and how do we reposition ourselves to be more effective.